I just think feel it, take time, figure out what it is that blooms your mind, because I think that what we've been learning through your podcast and the discussions you have, there is no, oh, well, you must meditate for 45 minutes a day and then you must do this and the yoga and the this. Everyone's mind blooms to different things. So that's, we all have our things, and some people it's, going for nature walks, and some people it's engaging in sporting activities. So, and I think find what it is that makes you happy, notice those points that, I can remember at a really dark point in my life, I was at a retreat, and I was one of the questions was, what makes you happy? What brings you joy? And it was one of the most confronting moments of my life, because I couldn't, I was like, all I did was work. So I was like, oh, and I sat there and I was like, oh my God, when did this happen? I'd slowly dropped all of my external interests, and it took me ages. It was really, because people are like, oh, I do this. And I was like, oh, I'll try it. No, it's not for me, and you will find it. You really will find it. It might be meditation, mindfulness, it might be gardening. I tried knitting, picked up knitting again when I was going through treatment. There's painting. I've got blue hands right now because I've just been tie-dyeing T-shirts. Like there's all these things that I think, for me, I remember, like, we are all children, inside, and we forget to play. And I think what really makes minds bloom is when we put all the ego aside and all of that, and we just, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to colour in because I want to, and I'm a kid, I'm an adult, I shouldn't be, I think that find the thing that makes you glow, and do it, and savor that for you, it's, then in your toolbox, if you're having that down moment, like you and I do, we'll be like, oh, I need to go in the garden. Today, because that's going to fill me up. So yeah.
So Kate, tell me about your train wreck. I don't want to call it a journey because that's so poetic. It annoys me.
Oh, it's hard one, isn't it?
It's like the survivor hashtag. Yeah.
And it's like, and they beat cancer, or they lost their battle to cancer. And, it's not about strength. I didn't beat cancer because I'm stronger than someone else. Cancer beat the other person because cancer is an asshole, it's a tough one. So how did it all start for me? So I was working in a global fashion role. I was operations manager for an Australian fashion brand. We were located all over the world. So I touched on before, I was a workaholic. I worked every day of the year. I think the year before I was diagnosed, that last year, I'd only been in Australia for 2 weeks out of the year, and that's where I lived. So in early 2016, I retired after 10 years, and to take leave to, my mental health was really failing me, and I was having panic attacks and ended up in a hospital, once a month, thinking I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And then a divorce came after that. And then just at that time, a friend of mine who was in remission with breast cancer was re-diagnosed. It had come back and it metastasized. So we were going through that with her in Australia. Once, I'd moved through divorce and moved out of my home there, I picked up and moved to the States. I'd been working in America for 10 years. It was just sort of the natural progression for me. I wanted out of that environment that was there for me. Once I got over here, it wasn't too long then my friend died of breast cancer, which was super challenging. She was my age, part of my group. And I can remember distinctively thinking, you know, when we knew that she wasn't going to, you know, she'd been given not long to live because it had just taken over. Her last wish was she wanted to go on a cruise with her mum, and money was super tough. So I was moving in country, and I was, you know, I was in a very different situation financially then, and so I was like, I'm going to sell my wardrobe. And we sold her wardrobe, and she was able to, you know, go on this amazing trip. And then, you know, I came over here, and then she passed, and I got my fuck cancer tattoo for her.
That's right.
I opened my new business, which again was, you know, I was consulting predominantly Australian retailers opening in the US market, in fashion and jewelry brands. And it was about I'd say February of 2018. You know, depression's always been a huge thing for me, but I've always been a million miles an hour and energized, right? And I was waking up and I was so tired. I was just noticing like I was feeling awful to the point I was going to the doctors. I saw a doctor, a naturopath, everything, and I'm like, something's not right. You know, like I was throwing up. I was having hot flashes. You know, I thought I was going through early menopause. Like I was actively saying, fuck, I think this is, you know, what's happening. And then I was getting blood like there was and it started to get a little bit more serious. I can remember it was probably 2 weeks before I found the lump. You know, I got up in the morning and I'd had like 4 days in bed where like I couldn't keep my eyes open. You know, like I was sleeping for like 16 hours, right? And then I was waking up and I'm like, hey, get up. And I was then falling asleep on the toilet, you know, like and then I got up one day to go for a run, and as I walked outstairs, I just collapsed. And I was like, okay, something's not right.
Yeah.
And then it was 2 weeks later, I, you know, been to see more doctors and they still didn't know. And then I was just sitting like this one day. I had my period and I was sitting like this. And I was watching Peaky Blinders next to Eddie. And I was like, what is that? And as soon as I felt it though, I was like, cancer. And, you know, I think you have that. I knew there was something wrong with me. And it was honestly, it was a sense of relief in a way. Because in my mind, I was like, well, if no one can tell me what is wrong with me, is this how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life? Because I knew something was so wrong with me that everyone was wrong with me. And once I felt that lump, as terrifying as it was like, well, at least. And, you know, obviously you go through the couple of weeks of testing and everyone going, you're too young, there's no way, and you're healthy, you're fit, all this kind of stuff. And, you know, obviously I took all of that, you know, didn't want to turn around and be like, no, I know my body and I know this is cancer, but, you know, I knew. So then, diagnosed stage 3 HER2 triple positive breast cancer. I had... the thing was also because I didn't know, but I do now, is I have highly fibrosis breasts. So what that means is basically I have thick boobs, you know.
Oh, okay.
They're dense. So to fit, because once I finally felt it was big, like it was like a golf ball.
Wow.
But the reason I couldn't feel it was because it was hidden behind all of the fiber, you know, and it wasn't until it popped through the tissue. So, you know, it was just a whirlwind. And then, it absolutely knocked me for six. It really tarnished my relationship with the universe because I had just come off a pretty tough time, and I was like, how is this, you know? And I still am. I still get caught in days where, you know, I have good days. You know what it's like. You have good days, and then some days I'm just like, ugh, I'm not getting out. I hate everything today. You know, it's just, I
know.
It's just something
it's a blow.
It's a blow. So then I had, 18 months of infusions. I'm in remission. I was put in remission March 2019 once I had my surgery.
Surgery, I'm sorry to interrupt. Surgery, that was a lumpectomy you did not have, so that people know. Yeah.
So I had a partial mastectomy. I had a lumpectomy. The treatment at the time, because of the type of cancer, the HER2 triple positive, it really responded well to Herceptin, Perjeta. So it shrinked, and I still had cancer visible when it was removed, but they did the markers. I had 13 lymph nodes removed. And the treatment plan was the plan was you do the lumpectomy because I can go on tamoxifen or Lupron hormone treatment. And, naive, don't know anything about cancer, so I'm like, sure, they put me in hormone treatment, that's fine, and stats say that most people can handle it. So once I was in remission, I've had my radiation, they put me onto tamoxifen. And to be honest, that's when things just got really tough,